after the heat that came down on ESPN on their decision not to broadcast the national anthem and a moment of silence before the Sugar Bowl last Thursday. And the ironic thing is the Sugar Bowl take place in New Orleans, but yet, in light of the tragedy that happened in New Orleans over the New Year's holiday, quite honestly, I'm just going to call it what it is. It was a terrorist attack. And ESPN deciding not to show the national anthem or a moment of silence because of a timing issue. The NFL said, not us. We don't want none of that heat. So, according to The Spun by Athlon Sports, the NFL sends clear message with Week 18 national anthems. Even ABC and ESPN, who caught a lot of flack during their Saturday broadcast, made sure that they showed the moment of silence and the national anthem before their games. Those games being in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. The NFL sending a clear message to its audience with this decision on the national anthems in Week 18. ESPN took major heat for its national anthem decision at the Sugar Bowl. The network shockingly chose not to televise the national anthem in New Orleans one day after a terror attack killed 14 people and injured dozens of others. The worldwide leader in sports took serious criticism on social media for its decision. Now in Week 18, the NFL and its networks are choosing to highlight the national anthem. Well, I will say this, there's one network in particular that caught some flack for not doing that. The NFL and its networks chose to showcase the national anthems on Saturday and Sunday, sending a clear message to the rest of the sports world. The national anthem at an NFL game hits different after enduring a terrorist attack. The USA is the greatest country on the planet and will never apologize for it, one fan wrote. CBS broadcasting the national anthem for an NFL game? Eyeball emojis. Are we back? We might be back. Shout out to CBS for avoiding ESPN's mistake and airing the full moment of silence and national anthem in New Orleans. Going to go out on a limb and say this wise choice had something to do with at WLU News alum leading all NFL production at CBS. Nice to see CBS show the national anthem before today's NFL. Shame on you, ESPN and Disney, one fan added. It'll be interesting to see how much ABC and ESPN change their policy on the national anthem moving forward during college football playoff. There's 2 playoff games this week. Got Notre Dame and Penn State, Ohio State and Texas. So that's from The Spun. Now, Clay Travis, formerly of Fox Sports Radio, now a Fox contributor to Fox News, still owns and runs Outkick.com. He put this out on X. 9 years ago, ESPN made a documentary about George W. Bush's first pitch in Yankee Stadium after 9/11. 2 days ago, ESPN wouldn't air the national anthem or a moment of silence for terrorism victims in New Orleans. ESPN's been broken by the woke virus. Well, it's not just ESPN's been broken by the woke virus. It's Disney, the parent company, has been broken by the woke virus. And there was something else I was going to add in here, and I just blanked on it totally. Clay put this out there on the 5th. Every sports network today dunked on ESPN by showing the moment of silence for the terror attack on their broadcast before kickoff. NBC, CBS, and Fox. I'm telling you, every other sports network is still stunned ESPN didn't carry it before the Sugar Bowl. And I just remember what I was going to say. Even the SEC network, who is owned by and run by ESPN, showed the moment of silence and the national anthem before the Sugar Bowl. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that happened. Um, we have this from also Clay posted this. This is from Fox Sports NFL. This is the moment of silence in Tampa where the New Orleans Saints were playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday.
Earlier this week, our nation experienced a horrific act of violence with heartbreaking tragedy in New Orleans. Our hearts are with the New Orleans community, including the brave first responders. At this time, please stand and join us in a moment of silent reflection in memory of the victims, their families, and loved ones. Thank you.
Now, I could be wrong on this, but I think Fox cut to this before each of their broadcasted games yesterday during the 1 p.m. Eastern time hour or kickoff. Now, getting back to this here from the Spun, where was it here? Or actually, it was Clay's comment here about every sports network dunking on ESPN. They also dunked on themselves because Saturday, before the games in Baltimore and Pittsburgh, what did ESPN and ABC do? Oh, yeah. They showed a moment of silence in support of New Orleans and also the national anthem. Now, I could be nice and give them the benefit of the doubt and say they learned from their mistake. However, I don't think they learned from their mistake. I think they got pressure from the NFL. Because I'm sure the NFL said, we want no part of that. Now, let's fast forward to last night's game in Detroit between the Lions and Vikings. Now, NBC's taking a little bit of flack here because they only went halfway. Says here, and this is again from The Spun by Athlon Sports. Prior to kickoff, the Ford Field crowd held a moment of silence for the tragedy that took place in New Orleans. I'm just going to call it what it is, a terror attack. The NFL held a moment of silence for the tragedy prior to kickoff at Sunday Night Football. The moment of silence was shown on the air by NBC. However, the national anthem at Ford Field was not shown to completion. And fans were quick to jump on them. It used to be back in the day that networks airing football games always showed the national anthem. Tonight again on NBC, they showed the moment of silence for those in New Orleans, which, yes, I'm glad they did. However, immediately after they went to commercial, slap in the face. I will listen to the game on the radio since you decided not to show the national anthem. What a joke. NBC showed the moment of silence, but not the national anthem. Commercials are more important than the national anthem, apparently. Lost all respect for NBC Sports as they cut away from the national anthem. That's BS. You're considered the national broadcasting company, and you should always play the national anthem anytime it's played at a sporting event. Now, it is true that TV networks rarely show the anthem before games, especially regular season games. They usually show the anthem, at least to my recollection, before playoff games, Super Bowl. But given what happened last week in New Orleans, you think that all the networks would change their, as it says here in the article, their protocols. But I guess ABC, CBS, and Fox got the memo. Now, the other thing here, and yeah, I'm probably going to get a little ticky-tacky on this. And I played the announcement of the moment of silence in Tampa. And it's almost The same in Ford Field in Detroit, where the PA announcer in Detroit referred to the attack as an act of violence, which the same thing happened in Tampa. They referred to it as an act of violence. It's very similar to what they said in Pittsburgh on Saturday, act of violence, which no doubt it was an act of violence. However, as somebody pointed out, why say act of violence? It was an act of terror. Shame on you for cutting off the anthem too. That's directed at NBC Sports. The NFL just called the Islamic attack in New Orleans an act of violence. Why is it so hard for these woke idiots to speak the truth? It's because they're afraid of offending someone. That's why. How is an Islamic terrorist attack just a simple, unclassified act of violence? What at NBC Sports can't say the horrific violence in New Orleans this past week was an act of terrorism. Act of violence couldn't even call it what it really was, a terrorist attack. Says here, the FBI believes that the man who attacked New Orleans on New Year's Day or early New Year's Day was acting as a lone wolf and possibly motivated by ISIS. And myself, as many of you out there, our thoughts remain with all the friends and family members of the victims from this terrible terror attack. So there you have it. It began on Thursday when ESPN inexplicably said, oh, it was a timing issue. That's why we couldn't show a moment of silence in the national anthem prior to the Sugar Bowl, which was hosted in New Orleans. Getting dunked on by their sister network, ABC. And then, of course, Fox and CBS and NBC went halfway. So what do you guys make of this? I think the NFL said, you know what? We saw the heat that ESPN was getting. And we're like, it ain't happening. And I get it. The NFL's not perfect. There's a lot of things I could rip the NFL for. But this is one that, you know, that I know the NFL's behind it, working with the networks. And ultimately, it's a network decision what they're going to show. But what do you guys make of the fact that ABC had a little bit of a reverse course? And I could say ESPN too, because they were simulcasting the games on Saturday. Fox, CBS, even NBC to an extent. What do you make of this about face? Comment in the comment section down below. While you're at it, please take the time to smash that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a video. And with that, I'll see you guys